This monster is such a universal terror that in every country, in every place on this earth, everyone has their version of the Boogeyman.
Boogeyman is all the things we don't want to speak about and all the things we don't want to acknowledge.
The Boogeyman preys on the vulnerable.
The Boogeyman really tries to find the scariest things to a person and just using that to turn himself into something that can really, really scare someone.
The Boogeyman represents all of our fears and what's in the dark for all of us, what's coming, the unknown.
It's the thing that stalks and haunts us throughout our entire lives.
If you work in genre storytelling and you get a chance at a Stephen King story, you're doing it.
This is 2 cameras. Hey, Mark.
We love it when there can be a big idea paired with human stakes and dimension. And so this King story, this is like the master himself.
The Boogeyman was singly one of the most impactful, traumatic reads of my life. And I read it way too young. I don't know if I was 9 or 10. And I wish I could say, oh, I was scared of closets for days afterwards or weeks, but it was years. And that is Stephen King's gift. He knows those things that all of us are scared about.
Some of the scariest King stories is there's just an idea there that's insidious and rattles around your head in the early hours, and the Boogeyman was one of those. I remember reading it for the first time when I was a teenager, and there's something that really resonated with me about the kind of unspoken darkness that's there right beneath the surface.
It was so exciting to have the chance to finally tell the definitive story about the Boogeyman. And it was one of those things where suddenly you find that something you love is available. And that happened with this short story, and the timing was perfect because with it came Beck and Woods, our original writers. So having a Stephen King short story with the writers of A Quiet Place was a slam dunk. And when Rob came in, not only was he completely in sync with what we wanted, he had all the pathways to get there.
When I came on board, Beck and Woods had done fantastic work adapting the short story into a really scary script. But
the first thing that I did was switch it around so that Sadie became our hero, because she was perched just between the world of childhood and the world of adulthood. And the Boogeyman kind of exists in both of those realms.
We were so fortunate to bring in a writer we've worked with before, Mark Heyman, who's an incredible character writer. He did Black Swan, he did The Wrestler.
And he and Rob just kind of worked hand in hand for a few months, and the thing took off.
And action.
We started talking about, like, what would the feature be? Because it was an 8-page short story where you never leave the therapist's office. And so we sort of used that as just a starting point.
One of the great things that Beck and Woods did is they brought in Lester Billings, who was what the short story was about. Instead, in our story, he launches our story.
What's your name?
Lester. Lester Billings.
It's a story about Lester Billings walking into Dr. Harper's office and saying, the Boogeyman killed, all 3 of my children. And that was a tricky thing for us to figure out. How do you expand that into a story?
What was really exciting about the script is this idea of Lester Billings that wasn't the typical kind of gas station harbinger from a horror movie. We tried to make him sympathetic, somebody who was really reaching out and trying to be understood and trying to put words to a feeling of grief and darkness that they were dealing with on their own.
It's more about getting a moment of stillness.
Yes.
Just between you and this thing.
Before the rip.
Before the rip. Got it. The rip kind of can break us out of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My character, though he may look, move, speak a little differently than he does in the short story, in our film, serves the exact same function.
When we're writing, we're always trying to think of, if you take the monster out of the film, what is the film about? And the hope is that there's a dramatic play underneath that doesn't even need a monster story, and that's something that we've learned from Stephen King. All of his films have these grand thematic ideas and great dramas underneath the surface.
What is this supposed to be? It's the thing that comes for your kids when you're not paying attention.
Ah, beautiful. Let's move in.
You know, lots of great horror movies are based around grief, and the boogeyman within our story represented the unspoken. It's the fact that all of these family members living under the same roof are actually living on their own separate islands, and then going through the same grief, but they're doing it alone because they're not speaking to each other, they're not validating each other's experiences. And in not communicating with each other, they create this thing that grows and feeds on their individual turmoil until it's something that they all have to deal with together.
That's what I really liked about the script and the story, and that's what I like about Stephen King, because you're usually dealing with the monster or you're dealing with this scary kind of presence, but psychologically it's working on all these other levels. And it's a very interesting journey on how they, try to communicate and try to find each other.
Oh my God, maybe you've heard something from in here.
Right.
Yes, you're kind of.
So this is kind of a, it's like, okay, she's cool, you okay?
Yeah,
You okay?
oh
We're
my
okay,
God,
we're okay.
yeah,
He's
like-
not in here, we're good.
We always had a sense that we needed an anchor of stability in the role of the father, and getting Chris Messina gave us that anchor. He's just a great actor. He's always really watchable, but he's also really honest. And so we knew we'd be getting just a pro who delivers in the father role.
I've wanted to work with Chris for so many years. He's such a soulful, wonderful actor. Every moment in the movie that could feel kind of familiar or a bit cliche, he'd always find this beautiful way to breathe life and authenticity into it.
This was the first movie I've done where I was the old man on the set, and I could sit back and be like, wow, I'm gonna watch the three of these people that I'm collaborating with do great things.
I think that the fact that these two sisters lead the charge against evil is important, because the best heroes are always the ones that seem the least equipped and the ones that can surprise you with their bravery and heroism.
Like readying yourself, steering yourself, and then kind of the last beat as you come past camera is like you ready. You've become the badass. Okay, and action.
I love that it's two sisters because I have 4 daughters, so I live in a household that is defined by sisterhood. And so I love that Boogeyman is an anthem to sisterhood.
Looking back at your shoulder, Sophie.
But casting these sisters, one of whom is quite young, that's hard. So in looking at actresses ranging from 6 years old to 22, we found Vivien and Sophie, and they're individually very strong. They're collectively possessing a chemistry and an ease with each other that you hope you can fake with people playing siblings, but these young women actually had it.
I just have to look at Chris and Viv, and I already feel for them so much and love them so much that when I see them in such a heightened, vulnerable, scared state, I kind of go to that place that Sadie goes to, where she wants to go mother mode. She wants to take care and fight the boogeyman.
Hello, Mark.
It really helped to have Chris and Sophie. They were always there for me on set. Whenever I got really tired and freaked out, they would always be there for me. I remember I was getting a little and Sophie was like, it's okay, we don't have much longer, we're almost there, really comforting and just being sweet.
I believe you.
Felt like she was actually talking to me more than Sawyer during the scene, and that really touched my heart.
Vivien is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. She's 9 years old, and yet she's somehow wiser than anyone else on set. And she's so technically in control of her craft that she can be bouncing around and then just switch like that, and it creates such a level of professionalism on set because everyone has to rise to her level, and be as good as she is.
Doing a blinking contest.
Okay, I think I'm ready this time.
Okay,
Right.
3, 2, 1. You're a worthy opponent.
And, Sophie's a big horror fan, so she got it straight away.
She's the most committed actor I've ever worked with. What she's doing in this movie is on the level of someone like Toni Collette in Hereditary, just carrying the whole movie on her shoulders every single day.
I've never had something so physically draining. Emotionally draining too, but very physically, because I was kind of putting my body through a panic attack every day, and sometimes your body doesn't realize, oh, I'm not having a panic attack. Oh, I'm putting this on myself. That itself is exciting within genre films, working within such heightened circumstances. But you never have to go through this kind of trauma and torture, actual physical torture.
Is there something in there?
No, she's just being dramatic.
Rob Savage is one of the most exciting young filmmakers in horror today. He's really elevated the kind of spook house horror movie into poetry with a lot of his stylistic choices, in addition to being able to really scare us.
The most exciting thing about this was like, wow, I'm watching like a master craftsman, like a Hitchcockian director at the beginning of his career. I just never seen someone this young that prepared. He's the hardest worker.
Action.
When we were in prep, he asked for office space and he taped down the interior of the house on the floor. And he was acting things out, always doodling and doing his own versions of storyboards.
The most fun for me is knowing where an audience's mind is going to be, knowing where their eyes are going to be searching in the frame, and knowing how I can subvert their expectation to get a great scare.
The one thing I just loved about Rob, and just talking about how well prepared he is that in his office during prep, he always ran a DVD player, old school like DVD player, with his favorite horror films on loop. So he always was just immersed in horror and respect to the classics.
I watched him navigate and deconstruct and then shift the way that even my body position and the shadows were going to work in relationship to the camera, because he knew that we've seen this thing happen in many films before, and he was not going to rest easily on the pattern, the cliche, the trope that we've seen so many times before. And that's only because he's such a student of horror cinema.
Then all the lights go out.
He loves making movies and movies like this. That comes through in every second of working with him. And so you love it because there's so much joy in the process.
I love how collaborative filmmaking is, and I love getting excited by an idea that I hadn't even thought of until an actor reads a line a certain way or comes with a fresh idea. It's all about being present and being open to what's right there in front of you. And that doesn't happen miles away at a monitor. That doesn't happen by sticking to exactly what you've had planned. It happens by bouncing off the energy of all these other amazing creative people who you've assembled.
Can I halfway come up with your head?
I really trusted him, and I bonded with him immediately over like weird niche horror movies. And I just completely trust him and his taste, and he went fully for it with me and with everyone else.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, action!
I kept joking, like I had to let go of my ego fully, because I'm being tortured and like thrown across and just like doing crazy things. I still have that to some extent in other projects where I'm thinking a little too much about it, but with this I couldn't. And because I felt comfortable with him, I just kind of released it. And that was really nice to have that.
Cut. That's a cut. Okay, awesome. All right, let's go in close.
I hope that this movie places people back into that feeling of being a kid and waking up in the middle of the night and feeling frozen with fear, unable to call out for your mum and dad. Just looking into the dark of the closet, like, is that my hoodie draped over the back of my chair, or is that a person looking back at me? Oh, I think it just moved. Like that feeling. This creature has to remain scary and slightly intangible by the end of the movie, or else we've kind of ruined the Boogeyman, and we don't want to do that. So we needed to find a design that was scary and familiar, but also had an element about it that was slightly unknowable, that spoke to something existentially terrifying.
Okay, so let's get Michael in. See if we can do a more sideways position. Okay, that's awesome. Ready? 3, 2, 1, flash! Let's cut.
Our incredible creature designers have come up with this design that presents itself as one thing throughout the movie and then slowly reveals itself to be something other, and something that will hopefully leave people feeling still scared of that the corner of the room.
I know when I watch a scary movie, I want to be creeped out. I want to be scared so that I can get it out in my movie watching and I don't have to carry it with me in my everyday life.
I think there's also a degree that just as human beings, we always are fascinated with the unknown. And you always wonder, like, how would you handle yourself under very stressful situations or scary situations? And the key about horror is it kind of allows you to toe dip into the unknown and into things that are filled with terror.
And 3, 2, 1, action!
It actually is pretty scary because it's a mirror and it's reflecting reality back on us, which is the scariest of all.
Made it.
There's nothing I love more than sitting at the back of a cinema and watching a horror movie that I've made with an audience and just looking at the back of their shoulder. When are their shoulders rising? When are they releasing? When are they looking to their partner next to them? I want people to leave frozen with fear of the dark. I want to make the world feel a little less safe for everyone. That's my job.
Told you it could be killed.
Don't throw the cheese at me. You want a food fight? I will come for you.
Yeah, we just got home. Why?
I'm going.
Are you okay? I'm fine. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Do look step here. Yeah. And yeah, just run up. Okay. Ready? Next one. Very good. Okay, we'll do one more. We'll do one more where you do the little